When will we see a new episode? Is Glitch really in it after writing the truth, or did he just say it to get away with it? Hello everyone. There are a lot of questions swirling around the topic of the release of the new episode, and today we will absolutely compare all the facts and theories, and you will get answers to all the questions from the beginning of the video. And of course after that, we will talk about what we will see in the new episode, because at the moment we already have a huge amount of information. And now, let's watch our amazing digital video. The first indication of the release date was this post from the Glitch channel team, published on February 23rd. In it, we got a lot of information. But the key for us is this part where they mentioned a tentative date, namely May 2024. Let's remember the day we first saw the pilot episode of Digital Circus. It was October 14, 2023, and it's been 5 months since then. And even if we take into account that at the time of the release of the pilot episode, not even one frame of the new episode was finished, 5 months is a huge amount of time anyway. But we'll talk about that later. For now, let's rely on the leaks that have been officially shown to us and build our line on that basis. Since the release of the trailer of the new episode or season, as it is convenient to call it, we started active actions to attract the audience to the new episode. One of the most important events is active promotion of purchase of Digital Circus. And as far as I know, this usually happens just before some big event. But why am I so sure, you ask? The answer is simple. It's all about money. The closer a project gets to release, the more money is needed to make it happen. And that means that there is at least one argument in favor of the earliest possible release date, as stated in Glitch's post. And then we were shown more and more leaks and various spoilers. And the important fact is that not only Glitch was involved in this, but also Gooseworx itself is actively involved in this so-called promotional campaign. Let's talk about the Glitch spoilers first, then we'll talk about what Gooseworx showed us, and then we'll talk about the release date. I would like to warn you that I will not include all the leaks that were shown to us, but only those that have some value and can hint at the release date. Orbsman. That's the name of one of the new characters shown in the trailer, and I think it's obvious that this guy is going to take an active part in Jax's life during his work in the fast food industry. And then the aggressive Digital Circus campaign started again, and then they showed us the deleted scenes. But it's not what Kevin Temmer showed us, it's the scenes that Glitch was working on. And then Gooseworx started showing us more and more scenes from the new episode. As I promised, we quickly looked at all the leaks that might be important to us. And now it's time to sum up before we decide on the final release date. Merchandising. Behind the scenes, new spoilers and leaks every day. All this makes us believe more and more that the new episode is close to its release. If you take a look at one of the latest leaks from Gooseworx, you can see that all the characters are already completely finished. The locations are also done, and one of the most important things is the color correction, which is also completely done. However, as far as we know, the episode consists of more than just animation. It is necessary to voice the whole episode, duplicate it in many languages, and so on. And judging by the active leaks and spoilers, I'm 95% sure that the animation part is already finished, and only small details are left to be finished for the release. However, we should not forget about Murder Drones, which is also scheduled for release in the spring of 2024. And we understand that Glitch has to plan everything in order not to miss the Digital Circus or the drones. Let's imagine two possibilities. If we imagine that we will see the release of 2 episodes of Drones first, and then the second episode of Digital Circus, then Glitch really didn't lie to us, and the release will take place around May. But it is important to realize that Glitch are not stupid people, and realize that the longer they delay the release of the new episode of Digital Circus, the less views they will get in the end. So I'm more inclined to the version that the words about the release of the new episode in May are just an excuse for the fans not to bother them anymore. And the most optimal option for everyone will be first to see new episodes of Drones in March, and already in the first half of April the release of a new episode of the Digital Circus. And the interest of the audience will still be preserved. I can say with certainty that the release of the new episode must appear in the middle of April and not later. I hope that my version will be true, because it is unbearable to wait another 2 months. And now let's talk about the events of the new episode, which we can judge from the trailer of the new episode and some of the leaks. By the way, I don't like the name Orbsman very much. I think the name Bub is much more appropriate for this character. We were shown at least 4 new locations, but few people know what they hide and what actions will take place there. I think many of you have already realized that Candy Canyon Kingdom is not some kind of extension or continuation of the Digital Circus. If you take a closer look at this moment, you can easily see that at least 2 of the familiar characters are sitting in this car. I'm talking about Jax and Kinger, or maybe all the other characters are there and you can see that they were brought there by Gummy Elephant. I think that in order to get to Candy Canyon Kingdom, you have to travel a great distance. And most likely Kane just teleported all of our characters to the beginning of the new location, where they were met by a guide. And the guide in our case will be Dino, because in his background we see only bare terrain, and on the territory of Candy Canyon Kingdom, there is some castle in which lives this interesting and very, very sweet princess. Most likely, Candy Canyon Kingdom will be one of the 2 locations that will take up most of the time in the new episode. And this picture with this so-called Choco King and another character, but we will talk about him later. Most likely, the Choco King is a reference to the Glowinks Queen, but only in the Candy Canyon Kingdom universe. This means that somewhere in Candy Kingdom there will be a secret location with one of the bosses. Who will create it is still unknown, but it is believed that the princess of Candy Canyon Kingdom has the same abilities as Caine in the Digital Circus, which means that she can easily create various tasks that our characters will have to fulfill. This is also supported by the fact that the location of the Choco King is not shown in any of the pictures. I'm really amazed at how delicious everything looks in Candy Kingdom, because even the castle looks like I'd jump on it and eat every last bite. I'm sure Candy Canyon Kingdom will be the very first location shown in the new episode. And if you think that Caine will be involved in its creation in any way, you are sorely mistaken. The amazing Digital Circus is just one part of a huge set that includes several locations, and each of these locations has main characters. In the Digital Circus, it is Caine, and in Candy Canyon Kingdom, it is the princess. But of course, they can interact with each other, which will be shown in the second episode. Most likely, we will see that many of the characters will tell our administrator that they are tired of the circus and want something new. And after Caine teleports them to Candy Kingdom, the most interesting events of the first half of the new episode will begin. Our Dino will meet them and tell them how to get to the main location, Candy Canyon Castle. There they will be met by a pink princess. However, things will not go as smoothly as Caine and Prinpeach planned, and as usual, Jax will show his worst side and will bully the others again instead of helping them. And this behavior of Jax makes our Caine very tired, and he decides to teach our bully a little lesson. The scene at the fast food restaurant called Spudsy's shows us just that. Remember the mention of minimum wage.
And let's not forget about minimum wage labor!
I think that was said for a reason, and to let us know that Jax is clearly going through a rough patch because of his past behavior. I think Spudsy's itself is not a punishment, but just a place that Caine created specifically for our bunny. I'm sure the punishment for Jax is that he has to pay for everything now, and in order to make a living in the Digital Circus, he has to work somewhere. Look how much he hates what he does, and Caine has to force him to do it. And then I have to tell you about Spudsy's administrator. This blue monster named Bub was also created by Caine, and will disappear once Jax has earned the forgiveness of the other characters. It turns out that our Bub is only a temporary NPC. I'm very sad to hear this news because this character is already one of my favorites of all the newcomers. I would like to tell you about another location that we were shown in the trailer, and it's the same stadium that has so many fans of the Digital Circus so excited. Of course, I'm talking about the stadium that will appear not in the second episode, but I think somewhere in the 4th or 5th episode. And I have a hunch that it's going to be the biggest location we've ever seen. And if you think about it, we already saw it in the pilot. I think everybody knows a location like the Void, and at the end of the pilot episode, Caine admitted that this is not the exit from the Digital Circus at all, but just one of his projects that is in development. And most likely it will be replaced by a stadium, because it would be strange if Caine was building 2 new locations at the same time. And judging by the size of the Void, our stadium will be very, very big. So let's be patient and wait for new episodes to see this location in its final form. Now let's take a look at a very spooky location, Mystic House. We were not told about it directly, but based on the character photos we can understand that this location will definitely appear in the new episode. And now how our characters got there. The day after they returned from the Candy Canyon Kingdom, the characters rested and regained their strength because Caine warned them that they would soon have to go on another journey, which they would probably not like. And after a few days, we saw Caine wake everyone up and immediately send them to the Mystic House, where they found out that Ghosty and Goofy lived quietly for a long time, taking care of the house. But then Tapey appeared, and his main goal is to take over the Mystic House. And after our characters learned all this, Caine appeared in front of them and told them what to expect from that day on, and to make them aware that Tapey can create monsters and that he is willing to destroy absolutely any character for his goal. And to protect them from these monsters, Ghosty has built many traps and puzzles in the house. And to get out of it, they have to solve all the puzzles and traps that we will see in the second part of the episode. Well, what happens next? I'd like to hear from you. I look forward to hearing from you all in the comments. Well, this is the end of our video. I want to wish you success and good luck and say see you soon in new videos that appear every 2 days.